These were showing that causation is all imagination, that imagining creates reality. What am I imagining? So they came to him, the embodiment imagination, and they said, but you haven't eaten. And they were concerned because you've been left alone and he had not eaten. And he said, I have food you know not of. And the food is, what are you feeding your imagination morning, noon, and night? You read the morning paper and you react, and you don't know one character there, any of them, and you react even before you get to the end of the page, based upon some biased reporter. But you react. That's what you fed the Lord. For the Lord is your own wonderful human imagination. That's God, and there is no other God. That is the Jesus of Scripture. That's the Jehovah of the Old Testament. And he is housed in you. That's why you are immortal. So you can drop right now. Now I tell you, it will make no difference to your immortality. Chop off your head, burn you, and turn it into dust. You are an immortal being. You cannot cease to be, because God became as you are, that you may be as he is. And so you're going through these with these strange, peculiar diets, and we simply produce what we feed upon. You can learn a lesson from the animal world. When we were children, we had ducks, chickens, all kinds of things that you have in a farm. And we were a large family. There were 10 children, 9 boys and 1 girl. And we had a father, mother, and grandmother, all living in our home. And mother would say to us, take, say, 2 or 3 ducks and put them away, because I want them in 2 weeks. I'm going to have a duck dinner. So you take the 3 ducks and you put them away. Well, she meant that you will change their diet. Because when I was a boy, fish was plentiful and cheap. You could bring in all kinds of fish. We had no refrigeration. So if it wasn't sold in the evening, early evening, it rotted. So you simply either use it for strange bait the next day, or you fed the animals, that is, the ducks. So we would take the fish while we kept them alive and fed on ducks, on fish. And they got fat and they were altogether healthy. But you couldn't eat that bird until you took it and isolated it and put it in a cage by itself and stuffed it with meal, corn, sour milk, anything of that nature. And at the end of 10 days, that bird, having been fed only on, say, milk or corn or anything you had of that nature, the whole system changed. And so when you cooked it, it was like a milk-fed bird. If you didn't do it, you couldn't eat it. It's all fish. And I would know, I can see it now in my mind's eye. When mother said, Neville, get a few ducks and put them away, and I'm playing cricket and playing soccer, I forgot it. When I remembered, it was only about 5 days before. So I took the ducks and put them away, but 5 days was not enough to purge it completely of the fish. Well, you could smell that thing all over the neighborhood. On Sunday afternoon, we were going to have ducks. And we knew we couldn't have ducks because you couldn't eat it. You look at a duck and you're eating fish. So it repulsed everyone. Of course, we got a good spanking for it because we didn't do what Mother commanded us to do the time that she told us to do it. Well, that is just like everything else in this world. You feed, as he said, I have food you know not of. You feed for a few days, a couple of weeks, on a changed mental diet. In this case, in 24 hours, when she took the diet that he gave her, I am perfectly normal. The child went into a deep, deep sleep from which she could not be awakened without a struggle. And then the clinic said, well, she's not only bright, but she's healthy. She's completely right. She was simply the outfiction statement that that girl lived with when she said, I am abnormal in many ways. You take a new diet tonight, and just like the duck, and it may take you a day, it may take you a week, it may take you 2 weeks, but if you actually persist in the changed diet, You will outpicture that diet, that change of diet, and your whole vast world will change. We are the only beings to whom he gave speech. He actually became man. And this inner speech is a marvelous gift. And you can't stop it. You're doing it morning, noon, and night. You go to bed talking to yourself. You wake in the morning talking to yourself. And whether it's someone pleasant or not, you're still talking to yourself. You walk the street, some are obvious when they do it, but most of us are not that obvious, but we're doing it anyway. We're carrying on little mental conversations with ourselves. But what are we carrying on? Argument? Or are we boldly affirming and asserting that I am, and then name what I want to be? In her case, he gave her what she should say. And she argued with him, and she couldn't say it because I do not feel that yet. Don't wait to feel it, he said to her. Do it now. I am perfectly normal, because if you say I am not abnormal, that's not a creative thing towards your goal. In fact, it may be destructive. You want something positive, not something negative. I am not abnormal. I am perfectly normal. Then the child, the outpictured self. So everyone in your world is yourself pushed out. Blame no one. Don't even blame yourself. Just change the diet. They only reflect what you have been doing and maybe still doing. And when you see it, you change the diet. And the diet is simply words, all within you. So you assume that you are now the man, the woman that you want to be. Walk in that assumption as though it were true. Live in it just as though it is true. And then, who knows, that diet may not take more than 24 hours. I'm quite sure it would not take more than a few weeks to project itself in a way that you do not know. How do you know this little duck? And I'm speaking from experience. I'm not telling a story that someone told me. I was the one spanked for not catching those ducks the very day the order was given. And Mother was a kind of a disciplinarian that she always kept her word. If she promised you a bicycle, if she gave you a bike because you would do something, she kept it. If she promised you a beating, if you didn't do something, she kept that too. She was a great disciplinarian. I came back during the First World War. I went on a schooner to what is now called the Virgin Islands. Then they were owned by Denmark. Santa Cruz, and what is now St. Thomas, and then St. John. We bought them during the war, the First World War. That is, we in America bought them. But then I was a British subject. And I went down on a schooner to get cattle because we didn't raise cattle in Barbados and we needed the meat. And they had the dairy, all Denmark owned them. So there were dairy people. Bought the cattle, put them aboard the ship, and started back for Barbados. And we would become off Martinique. Martinique has a huge mountainous volcano. We're out of sight of the island, so they couldn't rescue us. And there's no radio in those days, no possibility of contacting the mainland. And there we are, simply drifting, not moving an inch in the course of a day. And the cattle are dying. They're all dying. We were 8 days late coming into Barbados, and all the cattle are gone. From the bilge and the lack of food, the lack of water. And I thought, well now, when I came home, they'd be so happy to see me because I thought I was gone, because the submarines, the German submarines, were shooting at everything in the area, even a little schooner. So I came in, and I came home. They all greeted me with open arms. By that very day, Mother said to me, I don't want you to go out into the sun. You've had enough sun on that schooner for these many days at sea. I must have been 2 weeks at sea, and no possibility of any shade. Burned to a crisp. Don't go out. Well, I had guinea pigs, and I had rabbits. I had to go and see how my guinea pigs and rabbits were coming on. But she told me not to go. I figured my first day home, certainly Mother will not hold it against me. So I went out, disobeying her order. When I came back in, she said, did I tell you not to go out? Yes, Mother. I thought, well, now, after all, my first day home, she thought I was dead. Here I am resurrected. That didn't pacify her at all. Took off that shoe and she wanked. And she let me have it. She was the most marvelous disciplinarian. She promised you a watch, you got it. If she promised you anything, you got it, including the whipping. So I'm telling you, a change of diet. And in our case, we are the Lord. And the Lord feasts upon words. He is the Word. And so what are you saying to yourself in the course of 24 hours? I am in want, I am this, I am that. Change it. Completely change it. And say within yourself, I am happily, blissfully married, if that's my objective tonight. Reason denies it, your senses deny it, I am blissfully happy. And sleep as though it were true. I can tell you that story from my own personal experience. It works that way. And when I told the details of how it happened, people saw the means employed, which I certainly didn't manufacture them, not consciously, and judged me harshly for telling the means. But, as you're told in Scripture, I have ways and means ye know not of. My ways are past finding out. All you do is simply go on the new diet. But when I found the girl to whom I'm now married, I'm blissfully happy with her since the day I met her back in 1936.